Hi, this is Jeff Gentry, BPA, Bloodstain Pattern Analyst. I'm going to do a quick blood pattern review of the TV show on HBO Max, The Flight Attendant. This is Season 1, Episode 1. I watched this the other day. This is about a lady who's a flight attendant, and she is really into the alcohol. She meets up with a guy and ends up hanging out with him, and she wakes up and finds him dead in bed. So the storyline goes that she's possibly the murderer. She can't remember. But it's kind of a little bit of a ripoff of Girl on a Train, but I kind of lost interest once I found out that she was not the murderer, so spoiler alert. I'm going to show you the blood patterns that she wakes up and finds on the guy that she was with. So if you don't like blood or blood patterns, now's the time to turn it off. So she wakes up from bed, she finds a little bit of blood on her hand, slightly concerning, and then she turns around and finds this. Okay, so the guy that she was with, this is at 10 minutes and 45 seconds. He is dead in bed with a large wound to his neck, a laceration or incised wound to the neck. So let's see a little closer. All right, so this is what she sees. All right, so first off, I'm going to describe the blood patterns. So you've got large amounts of blood on the chest area. There's blood pooling. There's maybe some spatter or contact stains up here on the pillow, which is up and away from the body. There is blood flows that are going down the arm. That's when blood follows the force of gravity. There's blood flows down here, possibly some contact. And then you see blood saturated into the surface. So those are called saturation stains. That happens when a large volume of blood comes in contact with any kind of clothing or fabric. It saturates into the surface. So the wound, it's going to be consistent with a laceration or an incised wound to the neck. It's smaller on this side, gets larger to the right side of his body. So it'd be like if somebody were standing over him, cutting his neck this way. So it's small and then it goes into a larger wound. So I would say that's more consistent with somebody else doing it versus himself, unless he's right-handed cutting his neck. So the problems that I see with this: one, there's no blood on his hands at all. No blood on the hands or face. Everything is completely clean. I've seen a lot of wounds like this, and unfortunately, the house gets really bloody, the victim gets really bloody, everybody involved gets really bloody. So seeing no blood on the hands is very concerning. First reaction when you get a wound like that is to touch your wound, and then look at it. So I don't see any of that. So I would have changed that if I was getting this scene set up for this movie or TV show. The face. Nobody is just going to let this happen to them. So this is going to be somebody that's fighting for their life. They're not going to die immediately, so they're going to have a couple minutes. They're going to be out moving around. They're going to be fighting with the suspect. They're going to be running away. So just seeing blood isolated to this area is inconsistent with a homicide, or inconsistent with this kind of an injury. The other problem is you're assuming that there's large vessels lacerated, and you don't see any kind of a spurt pattern. So if an artery gets lacerated, every beat of the heart is going to cause blood to spurt out of that wound. So you don't see any of that around him. So, I mean, it does look cool. There's a lot of blood. They did a good job with the flows and the saturation. But just what I'm seeing, there's no signs of struggle. Everything looks actually more consistent with like a suicide, because he didn't even try to fend off the attacker. She would have been just covered in blood if she would have done this. So overall, it's good, but there's some problems with it. Pretty cool to look at the blood patterns. So this is Jeff Gentry, BPA, Bloodstain Pattern Analyst, doing a quick analysis of The Flight Attendant, Season 1, Episode 1 on HBO Max.